Good morning, good day, wherever you are. I hope you're having a good one. I'm Rick Zanotti, and you're watching eLearnChat. This is episode number 63, June 13th, and we're joined today by Colleen Sun Lee. Hi, Colleen. How are you?
Hi, Rick. Good morning, everyone. I'm doing great, Rick. Thank you. How about yourself?
I am doing very well. It's a nice gloomy day in Southern California. This is our June gloom season, so we don't see a lot of sunlight over here, which is okay. We need the humidity.
You know, that's the first time I heard about June gloom was when I moved down here to Southern California. I didn't know such a thing existed.
Yeah, and it's nice. It actually happens. We also have April, May, June gloom, but that's okay. Everybody calls it June
That
gloom.
is true.
Well, today we've got a guest from a company that's fairly well known and yet kind of a little bit of an e-learning secret, if you will. Mark Simon is joining us from iSpring Solutions. Aside from working with iSpring, he is also a consultant, has over 20 years of e-learning and development experience, and he's an adjunct professor at University of Massachusetts at Boston, which is a gorgeous campus.
Yes,
I got lost there recently. So we're looking for Harvard, and we found UMass Boston. It was really pretty. And Mark, hi, how are you today?
Great, Rick. Thanks very much for having me. This is great. I'm very excited to be here.
Great. Well, we're glad you could make it, and you've got all sorts of good stuff to tell us about iSpring and some of the things going on. Now, I'll do a disclaimer. I actually work with iSpring as far as a tool, and I've really enjoyed my experience with iSpring. So I am familiar with the product, but I know a lot of people may not be. And do you want to tell us a little bit about what iSpring does and some of the things coming up?
Sure, absolutely. So iSpring's a PowerPoint-based e-learning tool. Quite simply, there's many different e-learning tools out there, and lately there's been kind of a proliferation of e-learning tools that are PowerPoint-based. It's actually an add-in to PowerPoint, and so what you get out of the PowerPoint application is you'll get an additional ribbon or a pull-down menu if you're still back on Office 2003. And basically has all the tools that you need to take a PowerPoint presentation and convert it over to e-learning with a simple push of a button or two.
Yeah, and it works pretty fast. Like I said, I have used it. I guess a lot of people compare it mostly to tools like Adobe Presenter and Articulate Presenter. I guess that would be the two most common competitions, but it's different. There are definitely differences that I've seen throughout the years. What are some of the major differences between those tools and iSpring?
So that's a great question. I actually wrote an article that appeared in eLearning Guild's Learning Solutions magazine last fall, comparing those tools. And I actually compared a fourth one, and the fourth one was actually the one that caused me to do the research on it. The fourth one was Lectura Snap. Base price for Articulate, and I think Articulate is pretty much by far the most popular tool, is about $1,500 if you just buy the Articulate Presenter and the Quizmaker tool. And Adobe Presenter comes in at about $500 as well as iSpring. And then Lectura Snap came out at $99.
Right.
And so really it was just like an entry that came into the market, and it was, the Lectura is a big heavy hitter when it comes to e-learning tools. They do fantastic tools with their regular standalone, if you will, development application. And they decided to enter the PowerPoint-based tool market. And when they came out with the price point at $99, it was like, okay, well, you've got to try it. And I ran out and got a copy, and then I started comparing them because I'm a longtime Articulate user. I've used Adobe Presenter as well for a long time. I actually started on that when it was Macromedia Breeze. And so I compared all those tools next to each other, and getting to your question or whatever about some of the features, and I'll do a little demonstration to kind of guide you through some of the features, the basic features of iSpring and how it compares to the different tools. But iSpring generally I find to be the best engineered e-learning tool that runs on PowerPoint. It just has a solid look and feel compared to the other tools. One small example is when you publish with a PowerPoint-based tool, every other tool intercepts the clipboard. And it's kind of a funny thing. It always struck me as kind of odd that when I publish with Articulate or publish with Adobe Presenter, and I do a copy paste with another application as it's publishing in theoretically the background, I can't do any copy paste because it's intercepting the background as it goes through publishing. And iSpring's the only tool that is PowerPoint based that doesn't intercept that clipboard. And then it does little things like the graphics are vector based instead of raster based.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep, and that's not, that's kind of a geeky thing, and why do I care? But you care because vector is smaller, so your flash files that are produced are going to be smaller, and it's also clearer. So you've got a better video capability or better graphic capability, I guess I should say, in addition to the flash files being smaller. It's a big advantage.
And it was also, one thing I noticed is that it was ActionScript 3, which made it even faster.
Ah. Absolutely. So it's one of the few tools right now that actually is fully compatible with ActionScript 3. Articulate, you may know, is Articulate 09. The studio version is 09. And that doesn't mean that it came out in 2009. It actually means that it was released in September of 2008. So it's really behind the times with upgrades, significantly behind. And to get it to work with ActionScript 3, which means, for those that don't know, that means Captivate, which is outputting ActionScript 3 now with their version of Captivate 5 or 5.5. So iSpring right off the box, or out of the box, works with ActionScript 3, and that's actually a big advantage too.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot faster. And I know you guys I've seen some previews of the HTML5 that you're going to be generating. The previews are actually pretty impressive. I've never seen transitions out of PowerPoint that look so fast and smooth. I think there was a marketing email that went out, and it actually looked really good. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like. We use all these tools. We've got customers who are on every one of these, so we know, good and bad about all the tools. And now you guys were actually kind of lucky because as the war between Lectora and everyone else kind of kicked up, they were really only focused on Articulate, which is sort of interesting. All their ads were geared towards, why spend $1,500 when you can spend $99?
Right.
So they were targeting one group, which is interesting. So everybody else kind of took cover and didn't feel the bullets. So that was probably good. But I thought that was an interesting marketing attack, because usually in this industry nobody really goes after anybody that much. So that was bold, if you will.
Oh, absolutely, and it was great timing on their part. Again, Lectura came out just about a year ago. I started looking at it last July, August or so, and really because Articulate has just been sitting still on Articulate Studio, and their focus has been more on Storyline. I thought it was a brilliant ploy by Lectura to come out with their product, and I think their timing to get into this market at the price point they did, plus, like you said, Rick, at the time that they did, and so on and so forth, I think it was actually a really nice move.
Yeah, from what I heard, it's been a good seller for them. I think we have a copy of it. I haven't really used it for any customers yet, and it works okay. It doesn't have all the features of some of the other products, but for $99, it's one of those, oh, sure, I'll buy it.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. And let me be clear on this. I didn't have it with really great reviews. When I did the evaluation side by side, it still has a lot of flaws.
Right.
It is not a perfect tool by any stretch, and to use it in a corporate environment or professional environment, it's really tricky. You have to work with it. It still flips graphics upside down. When it publishes, it sometimes publishes and sometimes does not. It's still got a little ways to go before it's actually at a stage where I would recommend Snap. But again, at $99, you make a point.
There's a question in the chat room, Rick, from Dawn, I believe, and it's from Mark. Is iSpring compatible with Mac, or is it just for PC users?
That's an excellent question. No, iSpring and all of the other e-learning based or PowerPoint based e-learning tools are not Mac based. Okay, it'll produce HTML5 to go across platforms with the published output, but it's a PowerPoint add-in. Okay, and add-ins are not, I'm not sure why they do this, but for Office on the Mac, it does not allow add-ins. And that's the technology, that's the door opening or whatever that gets these products to be embedded within PowerPoint.
Well, also there's a lot of differences. Having just gotten Office for the Mac at work, I have an iMac at work right now, and I decided, okay, I'm going to try going with the iMac for a while. I still have my PC workstation, but I got Office for the Mac, and it's different. It's not quite as polished as the Office Windows. And you're right, the PowerPoint has some nice features. There are differences, just enough to drive you nuts. But
it's surprising, yeah. Especially as many people now that are turning to Mac, and Mac in the corporate workplace, it's just amazing the transition that's been made. I think part of it might be the iPad.
Yep, it's growing.
But many more people using MacBook Pros or Air Macs and things like that now.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's true. Colleen, any other questions in the chat room while we're at it?
No, I think they're just all mulling over, what is the perfect tool right now. They're kind of conversing amongst themselves.
You can hear the mulling.
Yeah, I can hear the mulling. And it's funny,
Absolutely.
It's all people that I know, so I can pretty much picture them mulling too.
That's funny. So how do you see the marketplace right now for, well, actually, one other question comment I wanted to make, and this is sort of interesting. I believe iSpring was developed in Russia.
Absolutely.
And Russian programmers are some of the best I've ever met, bar none. I have a story I tell all the time of a friend of mine who actually offshores, and he lives in Scotland, and he sends work out to India and also to Russia and or the Russian satellite countries. And he says when he sends to India, everybody's very friendly. They'll nod and say, this is great, this is what we want. But it takes him a lot longer to get what he's looking for. Then he sends it to Russia, and they tell him, your design sucks. You don't know what you're doing. We will fix it. 1 week later, it's not only fixed, it's better than what he originally designed, and he has it finished. And I've worked actually with Russian, Polish, Czech. This is very good engineers, very good programmers.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I kind of agree. I mean, to me, there's three categories of the engineers, and this is no slam against the American engineers, because we've got certainly a great group here, and the French have their own, and the German have their own. But I agree with you. To me, it's the Russians, the Indians, and potentially the Chinese that are probably a little notch above. And in this case, it really does show. I mean, you really just need to test drive this. I've always said it's like moving from a Dodge Caravan into a Lexus or whatever. Just the look and feel of it. It feels better. It performs better. It reacts better. Holds the road better. However you want to look at it. And I'm sure that's a big piece of it. Are the Russian engineers that are behind this?
Yeah, there are some very good. I mean, most of our good engineers are in defense. That's why we have such good defense stuff. But
agree with that.
Engineering is different from what it used to be. I went to engineering school, so I'm a little aware of that. And that was a long time ago. That was dinosaurs still roamed the earth back then. But it was a different world. And in fact, they said we are graduating less engineers than just about any country in the world right now, which is really a sad statement for the U.S. We're just not graduating engineers. So as a result, we're a little lagging as far as abilities. We've got all the resources, we just don't graduate a lot of engineers.
Yep, absolutely. And
so there's a comment in the chat room from Leva, and she says she wants the versatility of an e-learning suite with the interactivity of Zebra Zaps and the structural discipline of Lectora.
That's not so bad. No. I think that's a reasonable wish list. Just to be clear on my role, I deliver training for iSpring, but my real job is actually building e-learning modules and applications, and actually I build training programs for companies. I'm an independent contractor doing training consulting. So I go in and out of businesses all the time, and I'm always looking for the best tool, because I just don't want to waste time with a tool that's either hard to use or hard to learn, certainly. And so, I think having that sort of wish list is actually not that unreasonable.
Actually, Mark, can you give us your, do you have a URL? Or, because I think I put you under iSpring Solutions, but
sure,
if you can let everybody know, that way, if they need to get a hold of you.
Yeah, you won't get me through iSpring. I've got Highmark Solutions, so it's just msimon at highmarksolutions.com, and it's HIMARK Solutions, all one word.com.
Okay.
Kind of started out as kind of a tongue-in-cheek name. I
Yep.
didn't think I was going to really be doing this for a while, and then things went well, and so I'm still, kind of hacking at it.
Yep. That sounds
Yeah,
good.
I think it's a great opportunity now for us, Rick, to start segueing into seeing what the tool can do. I think everyone's getting anxious to see what Mark has to show to us today.
So how anxious are they?
17 minutes into the show, anxious.
All right,
Colleen
Mark.
wants to keep it moving along.
Anytime you want to share your screen, I'm going to switch over to your side right here, and you can share the screen, and we should all be able to see it.
Absolutely. All right, so hold on. Give me a minute.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to switch back over to Mark here.
Okay.
Okay, we can see your screen.
Okay, excellent. So just to let you know, let's see, I have 4 slides here that kind of like will set the table for it, and then I'll go into a demo. Does that sound about right?
That sounds great.
Okay, I hate going into too much, slideshow sort of thing, but I just want to make sure people know what the comparison was when I was doing this project. And so, I know iSpring very well, but I know the other tools very well as also. So if there are questions about this feature in this tool versus another feature in another tool, by all means, please send a chat to either Rick or Colleen, and I'll be happy to try to address anything. So I had a little section in here on why you're going to use PowerPoint-based tools to start, and we had that chat request or whatever for trying to make sure that they had an easy-to-use tool, but all the power that they need and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. Ease of use is probably the primary reason that people go to PowerPoint-based tools. It's just if you know PowerPoint, which pretty much 90% of the population does, and I always say about 5% of the population really uses it well, because the other percentage don't use PowerPoint quite so well. But you're basically almost all the way there if you know PowerPoint. And then rapid development would be the next thing. So just to give one quick story, I was on a project where we were doing a development effort where we were doing storyboarding, and it was basically using a different tool. And so what we had to do was we did our storyboarding in PowerPoint. So what we had 2 different review cycles to review the outline for the training we're developing, okay? And if you know review cycles, usually that can be death if you're dealing with a client that's just slow to give your feedback. So we had 2 cycles there for the outline. We wanted to make sure the outline was solid before we went ahead. And then we had 2 review cycles for the storyboards. Well, when we started developing the storyboards, it was like, okay, well, we'll do an animation here. Why don't I just do the animation in PowerPoint and so on and so forth? And it was like, oh, well, no, don't worry. Just write down a note that there's going to be an animation here and so on and so forth. So then after the 2 storyboard reviews, we had 3 other reviews when it got into the development tool. All right. Short stories, long story made even shorter, I guess. When you're using a PowerPoint-based tool, you're skipping a step or 2. Okay, as you're developing in the PowerPoint, you're basically developing the storyboard and you're developing a prototype. Okay, and all it takes is a click of a publish button when you're in the PowerPoint environment to say, okay, this is really kind of what it's going to look like when we're done. And it gets basically your reviewers one step closer to getting a valid review of the e-learning as opposed to a static PowerPoint, and then you'll see it in the skin later and that sort of thing. So hopefully everybody followed that. I'm sorry if I rambled a little bit. You also have the option of doing shared development with SMEs and illustrators, PMs. A lot of people hate this because, oh, I'm never going to give my PowerPoint over to an SME. They don't know what they're doing. I understand that. But you have the option of doing it. If it's complex and you're just, okay, do you want to just go ahead and take my PowerPoint and work with it? Send it to an SME, send it to an illustrator, send it to a project manager even, but, again, be careful with all of those. And then you can repurpose it for facilitated training in the end. So, you've got a PowerPoint, and in the end you get e-learning, but you're also, really close to having a facilitated training if you want to do classroom-based.
Yep.
There's a couple of cons. I won't go into all of them here, but sometimes you're limited to a certain mat size for design work, traditional templates, and if you've got a bad PowerPoint person leading the charge, you're going to wind up with bad e-learning and those sort of things. And then I compared the costs, and just to let you know where iSpring falls on the cost, again, I mentioned, I think earlier, that Articulate Presenter plus Quizmaker costs $14.98 retail. Adobe Presenter comes in at $500. iSpring beats them by $1. I don't know why. And then Lectura Snap at $99. Okay, so let's see it in action. And again, I'm going to wait for any questions from others. So let's see, I mentioned before iSpring's comes in as just an additional ribbon within PowerPoint. This is what it looks like. You have several different buttons that go across. You notice, by the way, that, again, I'm an independent contractor, so I have Snap by Lectura. I have Articulate. I use all of them. I use all of them pretty frequently. But iSpring, I always start out at the end of the development process because I like people to see that, first of all, if I go into slide sorter view, I have a simple PowerPoint slide deck, okay? It's straightforward. If I go into presentation mode, I put in a couple of animations just to kind of show one of the features of iSpring, which is it does capture all of the animations as opposed to others, and most of the other tools don't come even close to capturing all the animations. But then no matter what tool that you're going to use in PowerPoint, at some point it's a standard PowerPoint, but you're going to click on this magical publish button, and you're going to be able to publish to either web, CD. iSpring has its own learning management system, iSpring Online, which I'll be happy to show later if you'd like. And then LMS. And so if you're outputting to a learning management system, you can publish to LMS. You'll notice when I select LMS and I come out here, if I have assessments in here or quizzes in here, first of all, you can't see it because it's grayed out. I don't have any quizzes within this lesson. But I'm able to not only rate multiple quizzes, so I can not just include one quiz, which is really a trait of all the other tools, is it will take one quiz. So if you happen to have 2 quizzes, 3 quizzes, 4 quizzes in a lesson, you can only assess or count one of them. And iSpring allows you to do multiples. iSpring will also allow you to include the number of slides viewed as part of the user score. And so you can basically rate the number of slides viewed, and you can put a weight basically on all of these things. So if you want basically equal weight between the fact that they, viewed all the slides versus passed test number 1 and passed test number 2, then you can basically assign some sort of weight value to all those. Or maybe you just want a small weighted value for viewing the slides, but then the majority of the weight's going to be for the quizzes. So when I'm ready to start publishing, it's just a matter of publishing to a file. And I'll go ahead and click on the publish button. Again, this is all that it takes to basically come up with e-learning. So if you have your PowerPoint and you have a publish button because you've installed iSpring, you click on that publish button, and then you're going to take a look and you're going to say, oh, this is what I've got. And you'll have to excuse me, I've got my browser in my other window, and I have to switch it over. All right, so let me back up a step. So this is what I wound up with, and you can see the animations that I did have come in perfectly. You'll notice that I only have one slide showing, and you might think, well, that's a big red flag. That's actually a feature. So if I go back to my PowerPoint and I click on that publish button one more time, one thing that none of these other tools have is this ability to just either publish all the slides or just selected slides. So it's one thing to have Articulate, for example, allows you to do a preview on a given slide and to take a look at it in the final format or the final skin. But let's say that you've got a 50-slide deck. You get a choice of either publishing 50 slides, and that takes a long time, by the way, or taking a look at it one at a time. But over here, if I go into slide sorter view, and let's say I wanted to take a look at slides 2 through 6, all right, and then I click on my publish button, okay, notice that the selected slides now says, okay, you're going to publish now to 5 slides, and I click on that publish button. Oh, it's going to overwrite that folder where I am storing it. And what it's doing now is it's basically taking a middle part of my lesson and saying, okay, I want to check out this middle portion or this middle part. And this can be really handy and really time-saving within the within this process. Plus, it's a good feature, to have for just a lot of different reasons. So, testing, evaluation, and so on and so forth. One other thing that I don't know if you noticed, but as I go from section to section, the transition capability is present in iSpring. It is not a feature that you'll find in any of the other tools as well. I'm sorry. Lectura Snap has the ability to do transitions, and I'm talking PowerPoint transitions. The trick here is that iSpring will do them correctly. And I know this just not to try to slam Lectura. It's a great, great company, and I think Lectura Snap actually may be one to keep an eye on. But this transition in particular actually goes backwards if you do this publishing into Lectura. But otherwise, again, what I've got the ability to look at now is I've got the ability to look at 5 different slides in the middle of my presentation, and again, in terms of the publishing routine, that's at least a nice feature to have within the publish feature. So I'm going to hesitate a second. I just want to make sure everybody's in tune. And does anybody have any questions for now? Or
no, I don't see any questions. I think they're all just bouncing back and forth in terms of what tools they're used to using and how it stacks up against what you're demoing right now, Mark.
Okay, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just to let you know, I actually participate quite heavily as well in the eLearning Guild's LinkedIn forum groups or discussion groups. And if I'm sure the chat messaging here is actually going to be very interesting to read in the recordings. But I'd strongly encourage everybody to go over to the eLearning Guild's LinkedIn discussion groups. There's a lot of good input on a lot of different tools and things like that. And it seems like every few weeks somebody posts something like, I just tried Storyline and I'm a little confused, or like I can't figure out whether to go with this tool or that tool. And it's very helpful.
I have a couple of questions, Mark. One is, does iSpring handle audio handling?
Yeah, so iSpring will allow you to record your audio here, record video as well. So if you have a webcam, instead of actually just recording audio, to record your image through a video and then display the video. And then we've also got managed narration. So very straightforward sort of tools to import in your audio. You would go through managed narration. And managed narration is also where you would synchronize all of your different audio. And then importing in audio, and I usually use this, like a free tool. There's so many free tools out there for audio. I use Audacity, and I usually try to get the MP3 because there's so many different features in Audacity that really are better than any other tool that you've got for e-learning development. Is I record them in another third-party tool and then import in a WAV file or MP3. But the routine that you would go through is just to click on Import Audio. It will take WAV, MP3, or WMA. Let's see. And then I've got some sample audio here. And then my audio displays over here. You can see I've got basically an area over there, and then I can zoom in and I can play the audio and so on and so forth through this interface. And then when you're done, it's just save and close. And again, the behavior of this is actually very solid. So that, I was talking to Rick earlier, and again, I'm a longtime Articulate user. I'm a big Articulate fan as well. But every time that you go to insert in audio, or every time you go to insert a quiz or an engage interaction, you get this feeling like, okay, I just made a mistake here because it's gone.
Doomsday.
Not sure where it went.
That's happened to all of us. There
Yeah,
are some
I think
issues in that.
we've all felt that pain.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So a couple more questions, Mark.
Sure.
Let's see. Possible editing with other applications from within iSpring? Is it possible?
Which applications?
Are
you talking about like a Captivate?
Pardon?
You're talking about like a Captivate software simulation?
They're not specifying. They just wanted to know if it's possible to edit with other applications from within iSpring. I can ask for clarification on that.
You mean like Photoshop type things, or?
So, Leva, if you're listening to the question, can you clarify that a little bit for us so that Mark can answer your question? Let's see what else is out there. Which audio files are possible for import, which you've already touched on, Mark? Let's see. No raw audio. Any WAV files?
Yep. We recommend WAV.
Okay.
Generally speaking, WAV has the best quality to it.
Okay.
And it's up to you. If you only have MP3, the MP3s will come out fine. You just want to make sure, like with all the tools, that you have the right options selected to get your best quality. The options that you'll get, just to let you know for how you're going to publish and what you're going to see, is under compression. And I believe by default, like all the other tools, when you get this out of the box, the quality for your image compression and your audio compression is a little bit lower or toward the middle. I got to be honest, I crank them up to pretty much highest quality, and the price that you pay is with a larger file in the end. But your e-learning files are going to be large anyway. They're going to be 20 meg, 50 meg, 70 meg, that sort of size. And really at that stage, to wind up adding another 10 meg or 20 meg, you can't email it to people anyway. So, I tend to try to make sure that all the settings are just at the highest level.
Another question. What is the FPS and can you change it?
What is the FPS? Wow, is that somebody's initials? That
I'm guessing it's probably frames per second?
Frames per second, yep.
Oh, the frames per second. So yeah, you'll get. I believe the frames per second is basically dictated by the video compression. Okay, so kilobit per second. Let me go into advanced. So frames per second, I haven't dealt with. There's a lot of things I don't know, by the way. I hesitated telling people this because I love to be able to pretend like I know everything in the world, and I don't. So I'll have to dig a little bit on the frames per second.
Okay.
Oh wait, frame rate.
I'm assuming it's going to be between 15 and probably 30.
Okay. It says it's set to 24.
24. Okay.
I'm going with that.
Okay.
Gives you that nice film look.
Yeah. Well, again, you can adjust this. So if you need to go, I have no idea. You're always in a danger area when you start fooling around with these sort of things. That's why it's under the advanced tab, and I don't touch it.
And for people who really care about frames per second, if your PowerPoints don't have a lot of animations, then I'd probably keep it to a lower frame just for size. If you got 15 frames a second, that's going to be a lot more efficient than if you have 30 frames per second as far as the internet goes. 30 will look better, but just like video, anytime you compress it, it's going to get big. So you just have to be careful a little bit with FPS.
That's an excellent point, Rick. And I highly recommend clicking this publish button about 5 times if you really aren't quite sure how it's going to respond on your learning management system or when you're rolling this out. Let's say you're delivering CDs to people even, which I don't think happens anymore. But if you're delivering this on some sort of medium, you want to make sure that this thing performs okay for the frame rate or for the quality settings that you have. Publish it 3 or 4 times. It's a very easy button to press and just come up with a published output. When I publish, I always publish with a different folder name. So I'll come up with B and C and D or whatever it is for the folder names, and I'll wind up filling up my hard drive but the hard drives usually are big enough nowadays to handle it. And if you come up with 3 or 4 different versions at 3 or 4 different either frame rates or quality levels, that may pay off for you with the output.
Okay, now we've got about 5-6 more minutes for the show. How much? Don't want to rush you, but
the only thing that I wanted to try to make sure people saw was the quiz tool as well. I consider this quiz tool to be the top in the class for these tools. So if you want to insert in a quiz, you've got the quiz maker connection over here. You can do either a graded quiz or a new survey quiz. All right. And so just a couple of things. The first thing to make note of with their quiz maker tool, beyond the fact that it behaves very, very well, are all the different quiz types or question types that you have a choice of. And these are not just the choices like, okay, it's a check mark, we've got it in here. These things work very, very well. So you've got numerics and you've got fill in the blank, multiple choice test. I use the hotspot quite a bit. So where do you click? These are good for not just photos on a hotspots on a photo, but also for screen captures. So if you're teaching a software application, you want to try to basically find an image from a screen capture. And let me go grab sample one that I put in here. So I have Audacity in here. You'll notice, by the way, that for your quizzes as well, if you're doing scientific e-learning lessons, you have an equation editor. So if you want to ask a question like, what is the answer to this equation? You've got an equation editor. That's something that you don't see in the other tools as well. You can put in images. You can put in audio or video along with this. In this case, we're just doing a simple hotspot question. And you'll notice that I don't just have a choice of drawing a rectangle. These images right here are circular. So I could do the hotspot, and if I'm trying to basically get our users to click on this button, I can draw that rectangle, and that's okay. But I can also, whoops, I got to remove that hotspot. I can also do multiple hotspots, by the way. And I can make a little circle. And now what I've got here, and it's very easy just to click and drag this afterwards, and you've got the true, I want them to click within this area, okay? And if it's a choice of 2 buttons, again, just come in here and draw another one, like, maybe it's an either or thing, and you've got 2 hotspots now within the same one. And the other nice thing, and I've never used this, but it's kind of cool, is that if you've got some sort of image where you want them to either click in this area or this area, draw a little, freeform sort of area, like they have to click in this area. So great tool, great number of quiz choices, and if you go into settings, this is where the power comes. So, and I won't go into all the details, but you've got all kinds of different settings here in terms of navigation, question defaults, results. What do you want to have happen if a user passes? Let's say you want to send the detailed result to a certain server. Like you want to get this server the results on a different server because you're going to analyze the data yourself. And then if the users fail, maybe I want to send the results to an email, right? And so I can now send it to Simon at Highmark Solutions. Sorry, I should send it to you, Rick, or Colleen, I guess. But so you've got all these different options for if the user passes or fails. You've got customizations there with the skin and text labels if you want to change those. Again, it's just a very powerful tool. And then when I click on Save and Close, oops, sorry.
I know we're limited on time, Mark. So there are a couple more questions in the chat room. So let's see how far we can get with them. Another question would be, has iSpring been tested with a lot of different LMSs for SCORM and AICC? Absolutely.
So first of all, I've worked with iSpring on several different LMSs, and it works very, very fine. But like some of the other tools, including Captivate, by the way. A lot of times there's a little manipulation of the manifest file that has to happen. But I'll say this, that at the ASTD conference just last month in Denver, I know that the CEO of iSpring was walking from LMS vendor to LMS vendor because they want to put a checkbox in for every single LMS vendor, or sorry, for the select top tier LMSs to make sure that the manifest files are just basically all locked in and set. So you'll probably see that sort of capability with checkboxes for all the LMSs here very shortly.
Another question, and I know this question comes from Diane. She has a specific need for a project that she's working on, and she would like to know if you can add hotspots to moving video.
That's a good question. So, no. Let's see, right now I'm going to say no.
I would say no too, because in the Flash player, video takes high priority over just about everything.
Okay.
That's a good point too. Right, but I'm just thinking that for the hotspot question itself, you only had the ability to import in an image, not a video.
Okay. Again, another question here from Leva. What about when you were demoing the QuizMaker aspect or the QuizMaker tool? Can it do partial scoring? What about negative scoring and free-form hotspot? Okay, that you did cover that. So partial scoring and negative scoring.
So I'm going to say that again. I'm not 100% positive, but I would venture to say that it's probably 99% that it does it. If you saw all the settings, and I know I blew through them, download a copy. It's a free copy that you can get from iSpring. Download a copy and just put a quiz into your PowerPoint. Open up a one-page PowerPoint, insert in the quiz, and go to the settings area and just look through all the different features in there. There's I think about every kind of feature that you could dream of, as far as I know, except for maybe movies and hotspots. I would definitely check into specific questions that you have within the settings and options that you've got.
Okay. Alrighty, I think we've summed up all of their questions. And of course, Mark, if they have any more questions that that come to mind after we finish the session, is it okay for us to give out your email for them to shoot questions to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I was trying to think if I had. No. Sorry, I don't have an easy. I should have a little slide on here with my contact information just in case. Yeah. By all means, if people want to contact me directly at msimon@highmarksolutions.com.
We'll put that in the show notes too.
Sure.
Okay,
and I can
that'd be
tweet
great.
it out as well.
And my Twitter handle is highmarksolutions, all one word. So
sounds good. Now, while Mark is coming back into the presentation, I'm going to do a little plug for our lovely co-host over here. If you need any good PowerPoint done, she does an excellent job of creating PowerPoint. She's done some really good ones for us.
nice.
Very skilled at that. We're not talking bullets.
Yep.
No bullets.
That's a great skill to have nowadays, especially with how many PowerPoint tools there are out there.
Well, thank you, Rick. I appreciate that.
You're more than welcome, and I'll send you the check later.
Okay. Put it on my tab.
There you go. Yeah.
Hey, Mark, you want to share your video again?
Which video is that?
You.
Oh, sorry. Did I not? Oh, I'm so sorry. So I have to stop sharing, don't I?
Right. They stop sharing, then it goes right back. I think it goes right back to you.
Okay. Hold on. Turn my video on.
This is where Skype gets funky.
But, and I did warn Mark about that, to be prepared or to anticipate if we drop the call or whatever, that it has happened to us in the past.
Right.
So don't be alarmed. But I think we've been very fortunate today, Rick, in that we've had no hiccups so far.
That sounds good. Yeah, Skype cooperated.
It worked. Okay. Yeah, it gives me a funky message like, oh, don't you want Skype Premium? And then, yeah, kind of one of those funny things. But
No, we're still not seeing you, but
oh, is that right?
I
So
think
I am
we're
seeing
not
me
seeing
in
it may be
the
sharing
webcam.
your other screen. It looks like.
Oh, is it?
There we
Okay,
go.
hold on a
Now if
second.
you hit video, you should be back.
There. Yeah, I think you're coming back.
So hold on one second. There's my video. Share screens. Hold on a second. I don't want to share the screen. And mute the microphone. This is so my video. Turn my video on. Okay, let me try it one more time. I'm turning my video on.
There you go.
Okay, good.
It worked.
Second time was the charm.
Actually, it did work. Interestingly enough, though, it moved.
Except there's a box on top of his head.
Yeah, that's sort of interesting. Let me see if that's on our end or. Yep, that is interesting. I don't know what that was. It says something
And
about
you're not seeing that box at all over your head? Oh, there we go.
It said get group video. That was something that was happening on the little Mac Mini. We use Mac Minis as Skype machines, and for some odd reason I was saying get group video. Didn't know you could do a group. Oh, that's one of the new, I guess that's one of the pay features now of Skype. If you want to do a group video, I don't know, for some odd reason something triggered that.
Right.
Anyway, it used to be free.
Yeah. Right, long ago.
Long ago. So anyway, well, Mark, that was a real pleasure. I'm glad you were able to come on and share some of what you're doing and what iSpring's doing. And I'm sure there'll be probably questions and calls and whatever else to you in the near future. We'll have the show up a little bit later on today. And in the meantime, again, are you going to be presenting anywhere or have anything coming up that you want to let people know about?
Let's see. So I just got done with 4 different presentations. I was at ASTD, I was at the Lectura User Conference, and several others that I can't even remember at this point. I'm doing a graphics presentation for eLearning Guild's webinar series, and that's coming up in August. But that's kind of in the distant future.
Okay, sounds good. Are you going to be at DevLearn?
Yes, I will. In the fall?
Yes.
Yes, I will definitely be there.
We'll definitely see you at that one. I'm talking at that one, I think, and that should be fun. That's a good show. It's a good get-together show.
Yeah, I would love to sit down and have a coffee face-to-face.
It sounds good.
Yeah. Colleen,
Well,
you
it
going to
was
be there
wonderful
too?
having you, Mark. I really appreciate you being able to come and join Rick and I on the show. And it was also great meeting you at ICE and talking to your was it Yuri?
Yuri?
What is he, the
Yes.
CEO or?
What's that?
Is he the CEO?
Yes, Yuri is the CEO. Yep,
Okay.
and he's at almost every conference. My guess is he
Okay.
will be at DevLearn as well.
Sounds
Okay.
good. I can get to meet him.
Okay, great.
I do a mean Russian accent, but
Oh, I'm sure he would love it.
До свидания. До свидания. I used to know a little bit of Russian just because I had some friends who were from Russia when I worked at a bank, but boy, that's a long time ago.
I know 2 Russian words.
What do you know?
I think spasiba and one other one, which I can't remember right now.
I know До свидания.
And what does that mean?
I don't remember. I think it's goodbye or thank you.
Or can I have a coffee?
It's been so
please, or
long.
something? Yeah.
Actually, Russian and Spanish are probably 2 of the hardest languages on earth because they have such a rich vocabulary. Russian, I think, has the largest vocabulary of any language, followed by Spanish.
Yeah. And it looks different than everything else. Spanish is easy, at least because it uses most of the U.S. English alphabet.
Yep.
Most of the characters.
Yep.
But
Well-
yeah, Russian's all different.
Well, thanks again. We really appreciate you being here with us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Colleen, and thanks, Rick.
You bet.
You're more than welcome.
We'll see you soon.
And for all you guys in
Yeah.
the chat room, thanks. And we hope if you're watching this later on that you subscribe. And we'll see you next time on eLearnChat. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks.
Bye.